Don't know where we belong. Might never find out, but that's alright. No need to be all alone.
Welcome to the Cobracast with the... No, it's not with the
No,
president.
not anymore, it's not.
Kicking it around the globe with Rifty and Net Dog.
It is. A little bit different. That's going to be confusing, considering we have now 3 podcasts and all 3 we're using different monikers. Monikers, the right word?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's that, yeah.
Let's go with it. I'm sure someone will correct us.
Yeah. Right. So we got the Cobracast with the President VP.
Which is the official podcast, the Sandown Cobras Football Netball Club, hosted by the President VP.
So we got this one, Kicking it around the globe with Rifty and Net Dog.
Yep. Still the Cobracast. It's still the Cobracast title, though. It will still run under the Cobracast banner, but it will probably be just referred to as Kicking it around the globe when we get into it.
Yeah. And then we got Locker Room Drivel with
Yep.
Ricky and Ricky.
Yeah. And if you don't know what locker room drivel is, it's completely opposite to this.
I don't know. We speak a fair bit of drivel.
I meant as in we're in our own backyard. I meant like it's talking to people close to home.
Yeah. It's where we get local sporting
Characters.
legends of clubs, and it's not just footy related. We're trying to branch out to different sports and trying to get other people. But mate, enough about that one. We're not here to promote that, but go check it out on iTunes and Spotify.
Wherever you get your podcasts. Is either search Locker Room Drivel or just search Halfback Digital Media and that will pop up.
But this one, Kicking it around the globe, it's where our roots started in podcasting. Really was traveling.
Where we got successful,
traveling around the globe, going, global trending, talking to all the clubs around the world. And since we started that, like we thought, 100 odd episodes, we'd covered most clubs, but there's a few more that have popped up, and there's others
we
that
knew
never
fully
got
well
to.
we didn't. We also did promise a lot at the start of 2021, which we did not do, but we're back now. We've got the new setup at the Halfback Digital Media Studios. We've got some beautiful merchandise we've been sent across the time. If you want your jumper or your beanie or your hat, displayed during the Cobracast with the Cobracast kicking around the globe, send them in. We'll hang them up in the new offices once we open up.
Yeah, mate. We love a bit of free merch, but wait, North Texas Devils one, that's cracking jumper, and I've been wearing that pretty much all training last season before we got shut down. And North London, all previous guests.
Cardiff Panthers.
We got Japan Cup.
You can't, mate. You just can't just scroll over Cardiff Panthers like that, mate.
Yeah, well, I didn't get one, so
you got to give them a bit more respect, mate. Jeez, Brunswick Aces comes from that partnership.
Oh, that's true. Brunswick Aces, great stuff. That was a good connection there, and that's how we roll. You get around the globe and meet new people and create new relationships, and it's ended up in us forming a partnership with Cardiff Panthers former player.
Yeah, former player and also former head of AFL. Well, he's actually a bloke that when he comes across to Australia, I wouldn't mind getting him on for not just obviously kicking around the globe, but I'd love to get him on a locker room drivel as well, just for what he's done. So, mate, I said things are a bit different around here now. We're no longer the President VP on this podcast. We're also no longer going to be going 3 times a week. We've been on a hiatus for a good 12 months now, probably, about that. So these episodes will be released bi-weekly, so every second Thursday Australian time. I'm not going to shit you. I'm not going to bullshit you. These will be recorded quite a while in advance. So unlike last time we were doing this when we would record an episode and then 2 months later have an intro for it, sit down, talk shit for 10 minutes, then get into it. We won't be doing that. So this will be the only time you'll actually hear us talk before an episode. So if you're listening to an episode in, say, April, and we're referring to like a lockdown or something in February.
Fuck, we better not be.
I'm just going on like sort of things that could happen. Yeah. Don't think we're going back to lockdown in April. We just don't have the time to get back in and do an intro. So to break the fourth wall? Yep. Today, right now, we're just about to get onto a chat with Baltimore Dockers and the Groovetown Pirates. So
I think it's actually Grovetown.
Grovetown. What did I say Groovetown for?
Yeah, well, it looks like that, but
Grovetown, is it?
He's
Okay.
Grovetown.
I like Grovetown. It's not bad. But yeah, so like the Grovetown? Grovetown will be released in like a month's time. So don't be like confused in 2 weeks' time. Sorry, in 2 weeks' time, don't be confused that we're talking about something that happened 3 weeks ago, because that's just how it is. It's the only way with footy, personal life. The other 2 podcasts we currently run, the podcast we are hopefully going to be producing, running our own company, plus our usual bloody Monday to Friday job.
Plus getting back into footy.
Plus getting back into footy, plus running a footy club. We just don't have time to sit down every 2 weeks and record an intro. So, and not even that, we also don't have the time to just edit them or shit like that as well. So,
and we got to get on when we can get in the right time zones with people and get them recorded, and so we've got them in the bank for when we were able to release them, and so we were able to get a couple clubs on in the one day, which is good.
We never just do one. We cannot set all this up for one episode. It's, you can't see that side of the camera, but there is lights, there is a camera, the TV set up, there is just and so like the complications that go in with setting up these international ones are a lot bigger than just sitting next to you, because you've got to organise a Zoom, you've got to make sure it's working through the cameras, and so yeah, it's a lot of playing around. Like I think it's about
time zones.
Time zones are killer,
especially when they think we're talking in our time zone. They think. And, you know, we've had times where we're on in the morning and they're like, oh, I was on last night. Where were you?
Yeah. So, but one club I'm going to give a shout out to right now, and we're going to have them on in probably, I think their episode will probably get released in about 4 weeks' time, is the West London Wildcats, mate. They're recruiting heavy. They're trying to get players in. If you're in heading across to London because you've just beaten COVID, you're trying to find a club. Yes, we love our clubs from all over London, but the West London Wildcats got into contact and asked us to shout them out personally. They've got a couple of videos on YouTube, so make sure you check them out. But be wrong if we didn't mention who we just spoke to, and their YouTube page.
Stez and the Don.
Stez and the Don
on YouTube. Stez and the Don AFL YouTube. Go check them out. They go live weekly. They do a fair bit of videos. They have a bit of fun, and they're just trying to get their club going in Grovetown there, the Pirates, and mate, they're
going about it a different way, and I love it.
Yeah, they're different cats, and that's what we love about the USAFL and AFL Europe. It's a track, mate. These blokes found AFL on YouTube only a year or so ago, and they're out there
not even 12 months
starting their own club. Yeah, it's crazy. So, and you know, and then on the other side of it, we've got a bloke from the Baltimore Dockers. It's an Aussie, grew up playing footy not far from us in Sandown. You know, he was in Monash Uni playing footy for the Ammos, and then he ends up moving over to Baltimore and finds that the best way to meet new people is to go get involved in a footy club. So he, complete opposite end of it. He's an Aussie, played his footy his whole life, and he's back there playing footy with the Baltimore Dockers and getting to play in US Nationals and stuff and doing all right.
That's our first chat. But before we head off, mate, so this is a Halfback Digital Media production. So Halfback Digital Media it's a digital media company for community sporting clubs. So go give us a like and a follow on all your socials, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, at Halfback Digital Media. Go across and give the Sandown Cobras page a like and a follow at Sandown Cobras FNC. Except at Twitter at Sandown Cobras, because we can't get the original name back. Any other things I'm forgetting to shoot? Oh, we've got the Cobracast on Instagram, so we'll have snippets popping up there. Halfback Digital Media on YouTube. We'll have this video will be up there in its full. Any other socials you think we need to shout out?
Nah, mate, the only thing I'd say is if there's any blokes that played USAFL and have listened, they're subscribers and they listen to these episodes and they're stuck in Australia because they can't get back over at the moment due to, COVID and whatnot, hit us up, come down for a kick, come down to the Snake Pit, Cobras, we'll have you down anytime.
Absolutely, man. With Halfback Digital, any clubs out there that are struggling with their but Baltimore Dockers certainly do not need our help. Any clubs out there struggling with their social media and want to up their game a little bit, hit Halfback Digital Media up. That's where it all started. But now we've got a podcast network. But, mate, we better get into this first episode back.
We're going over Baltimore, mate. We're going chat all things Baltimore footy and, Even Ray Lewis gets a mention. Man.
This was a good chat. It feels weird knowing the fact this is the intro we're doing. But this was a good chat. That's what happened. Where from now on it's gonna be like, if it's a shit chat, well, it's a shit
We
chat.
don't have shit chats.
No, we don't, mate. But enjoy this episode, and so every second Thursday this will be out. You can check out Locker Room Drivel sporadically on Mondays. Hopefully every week for the first little while until we get shit sorted, and then the Cobracast, the Present VP on a Wednesday, sporadically until the season starts, and there'll be live recap shows. Well.
Yep.
Not live, but Wednesday night recap shows.
Yeah, nice. So let's get into it. We're going over to Baltimore, chat with the Dockers over there. So enjoy this episode and we'll catch you on the next one. Yeah, all right. Today we got Tom Waters joining us from the Baltimore Dockers. Thanks for joining us, mate.
No worries, guys. Thanks for having us, and thanks for spending a bit of time talking about the club.
No, not a problem. It's been a while. We've been traveling all around during last lockdown, but we finally got out of lockdown and were able to actually play some footy. So we haven't been able to jump on these Zoom chats as frequently as we liked, but it's good to talk to another member of the USAFL. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no worries.
So first of all, how did you come across Aussie Rules?
Yeah, I started playing. Obviously, I grew up in Bendigo in Victoria, so footy was all around me. I didn't play when I was younger. I played at my uni at Monash. I think you guys are from Sandown, so it's about 10 minutes down the road. We played in the Amos, and I think you guys played in the Southern Footy League. So I started playing there in 2008 in the under-19s. So been playing on and off for about 14 or 15 years, and I played there in Monash for about 10 years. I played a year in the Northern Footy League at Heidelberg West, and then I came over here, and I've been with the club since I got over here in 2019.
So how did you come across the Baltimore Dockers over there?
So I moved over here, and when you move to a new city and you don't know anyone, your whole social life has been footy for the past decade. So I thought I might as well look up if I did have a mate that lived in New York for a few years, and he played with the Magpies. They're obviously very well known in the USAFL and back home. So he said that they play with DC, and when I got here, it was actually the time when they had just separated and their own club. So it was only the second year of playing for the Dockers, and I came down to a training and came down in runners on. I'd only been in the country for about a week, and I asked the coach if we could have a run, but he said, "Mate, of course you can." There's only sort of 3 or 4 Aussies on the team, so that's how I met the boys, and it was a really well run club and something really good to do. It was the start of summer over here in Baltimore, so it was a bit different to playing in Melbourne, but that's how I came across when I moved over here.
So how long have you been over there for now?
Moved over in May of 2019, so approaching 3 years now.
And so there's been a few, changes in the world during your time over there. Have you actually got to play much footy for the club?
Yeah, so the 2019 season was interrupted for me. I was in the process of coming over here and getting a visa sorted, so I came back home and then came over. So I played about 4 or 5 games. I didn't get to take part in the Nationals, though, in 2019, which was good. We went to Sarasota in Florida, and we were put up in Division 2. So we actually had a pretty strong performance. We made the grand final there and got done by San Diego, but it was still a really good showing from the club. So I played probably 5 games that year and got to get immersed in the club. And then in 2020, that's when I volunteered to coach. And so obviously 2020 fell away, and that became part of the 21 season. And we actually got to play a bit of footy here in 21, just sort of against teams nearby, and they have a national comp. So we've come through it pretty well. It was just 2020 was sort of a non-event for most clubs over here.
How did you guys go at the Nationals this year?
Not as well.
Year, sorry.
In 19 we were in Division 2, and then touching on what you just referenced, 2020 did take a fair few players from our club, a bit of depth and experience, and players that, for personal reasons too, a couple of guys moved back home and did other things. So we're a little lighter. We played in Div 2 again, and we were a bit outmatched against some of the teams. We came away 0-3, but we played pretty well in games 1 and 2 against Seattle and Houston. So not what we wanted to get out of it, but it's always good fun going to nationals. It's good to see the amazing amount of footy that's played over here. There's something like 35 clubs in the country, and the quality of the teams you really see running around in Div 1. So, yeah, it was a good weekend. Not quite the performance we wanted on the field.
Yeah, it's definitely right up the top of our bucket list to get across there for nationals and not only talk to blokes like yourself, but also play a couple of games, probably in the lower divisions, I reckon. Yeah, just having a kick in.
Where we do our best work.
That's it. So, when were the Baltimore Dockers founded?
Yeah, so they split off from, they were part of DC, as you probably know. They played under the Baltimore DC Eagles for a number of years. And then just through its own sort of generation of more players around the club, and they started seeing sort of 20, 30, 40, 50 guys possibly to be picked for that combined club. And then a lot of guys were coming through from the Baltimore area as well. And so I think there was a group of 5 or 6 guys that decided that they could get a club going in Baltimore, and they did that. So they split off, I think, at the end of 17, with 2018, I believe, being the first year of their actual playing under the Baltimore Dockers, their own jerseys, their own banner. And that was when, the Eagles split up as well. So now they're 2 clubs in this area, and they, the boys, this is before my time, did really well in 18. They actually won the Div 4 national championship in 2018. So that was a really good showing for their first year. So still a new club, but always performed pretty strongly. It's a testament to the guys and girls we have that come out and play for us.
Yeah, lovely. Also, having another team in the area does make, obviously America such a big space. It makes it easier for you guys. Unlike clubs like Denver, they have to travel by plane anywhere to play. To have 2 teams in a similar area is good. So how did you guys come up with the original logo? And on the back of that, I have noticed that you've redid the logo this year, I believe. What was why did you guys decide to do that?
So I guess a question in 2 parts. Our resident graphic designer, and I hope he does listen to this, Johnny O'Connor, give him a little plug, wasn't as happy with the logo. That's a bit of a stitch up. We just wanted to sort of bring it into something a bit newer, and the first design did well for the first few years, and its origins are clearly from the docks in Baltimore, the inner harbour, and so the Dockers, that's the logo, and the colours were a take at the Orioles colours, the black and orange. The orange is a little bit darker than it should have been, and that's a story in itself, but that's where that came from. And the new logo coming out and the new jerseys coming out next year are going to be something really cool. And obviously you've heard about them and seen them. We're going to get they're sort of reversible ones, one black and one white for the clash. But yeah, it's a pretty cool logo, and I'm sure like I said, you've seen it, but we're looking forward to getting them out as well.
So at the start of that answer, you mentioned the club's graphic designer. I'm assuming he's the one that does a lot of your social media work and stuff like that.
Yeah, he does everything. He has to.
I run a social media management and content business, and let's just say, if you haven't seen Baltimore Dockers Facebook and Instagram, go across to it, because it is probably, I'm actually going to go on a limb, it is the best social media work in like what we're seeing. Them and DC Eagles are very good as well, but Baltimore Dockers is next level. It's probably my favorite social media page I follow across all the clubs for the work they do. And for a club that's just amateur, it probably puts to shame quite a few AFL clubs, to be honest with you.
Nice.
So pass on the message to him that I rate his work very, very highly.
Yeah, Will, and in all seriousness, he does his own work too for designjohnny.com, and he does some really exceptional stuff. A lot of what he does and generates for our platforms helps with our recruiting as well, helps with our social generation. I think we might have even seen some of his templates pop up in different clubs here and there. So he's definitely a driver around the comp, and his stuff's known throughout the USAFL. But he'll be certainly very happy you said that, and so will we.
Nice. So do you guys have a women's team?
Yeah, so we do. And the women's team, we certainly don't have a whole team to field, and we didn't in 2020. In 2019, we had women combined with the Philadelphia Eagles, and they actually came away with the national championship of the 2019 Nationals, which is a really strong performance by them. And we didn't have anyone play in 2020, and then in 2021, we didn't have a women's side. We lost quite a few players, like we lost from the men's throughout everything happening. So we looking forward to next year. We're not quite sure what our playing list is going to look like. We always want to try and generate more women's players as well. And when we do, it's rarely our own team. We normally form collaborative sides with those in the Northeast, like you said earlier, Rick, that we do have a few teams quite close, and that is quite fortunate for us. We can organise a few games compared to some of those other clubs that are a fair bit further away. So, and that goes back to our recruiting as well and what we can get into the club for 22, which we're looking forward to, and with the women's as well. So, and that's sort of, and we work pretty closely with Philly and DC. The DC do a really good job. So does New York with promoting the women's game and having such strong numbers. So we're just going to try and build upon sort of what they've got going and what we can in our area.
So in regards to getting players and bringing new players to the club, what sort of things do you guys do to sort of educate the US nationals on the game and try and get some locals to the team?
So that it's sort of interesting to recruit over here, because when I first came over, I think the thing that surprised me the most was the patronage across the country and how many people actually wanted to play this sport. And especially over here in Baltimore in Maryland, it's a very sport focused town, and a lot of people have come out of college from basketball, lacrosse, soccer backgrounds, rugby, that they still want to play something. So that's how we pick up a lot of people that knew people from college, socially around, that played social leagues here or there. So they pick up players there. And we also promote our club on social media where we can, using Instagram and other platforms, and say coming down for a kick and come down to our social thing. And it's sort of a collaborative of getting down for a kick, but really trying to bring them in through a social aspect as well. Some of the best players we've got to stick around have come to an event, come to Australia Day or a grand final, have a few beers, and that's sort of how it normally works back home too. And then they find themselves at the footy club on the Saturday morning for a training, and then in for a game. So it's sort of different each time, each year, and each player. But when the good thing about our club is generally when they come, they stay. So our numbers might not be as strong as some other traditionally bigger clubs, but we have a really good group, core social group, and a very sort of athletically adept group as well.
Ed Dog's not going to ask us, so I'll have to ask her. What do you guys do for grand final day?
Well, grand final night for us, and depending on whenever you guys back home decide to put it in the afternoon, really throws us. So it could be sometimes we'll generally have a night at our sponsor bar where we have the upstairs and we watch the game, and we have pie warmers and everybody's wearing their footy strips, and we do at the very best to promote the country and the game. And it's normally a really good night. So it's a big affair. It will start at midnight or like 12:30 or 1, depending on when the game is. I think last year was tougher. We had to do a sort of a tape delay because it would have been something like 3:30 or 4 in the morning because of the time change last year. So, but the year before, yeah, and when it's a normal time in the afternoon, the 2:30 time slot, we'll have it at about 12:30 a.m. So some of the younger guys have struggled to make it to the game and to halftime in years past. So they're getting better at it now, but that's generally how we do it.
That's all right. Ed Dog struggles to make it to halftime as it is anyway. So. But whereabouts do you guys train?
So we train at a nearby high school in Baltimore in Lansdowne Heights, about a 15-minute drive from the centre of town. And we also play. We did play at Bocheck Parks, not too far from the eastern side of the city. And we also played games at Patterson Park. So it's all pretty close. And Baltimore is pretty small. It's a town of or city of 600,000 or so people, but it's quite small in geographically. So yeah, the 15-minute drive or 10-minute drive is probably the furthest out we venture.
So you mentioned earlier that your grand final days, you're off at the pub and having some fun social-wise. Obviously, most clubs we speak to have a pub as a sponsor. How do you guys go about getting sponsors?
Yeah, we do. And our main sponsor is a bar as well, McGurk's Bar in Fed Hill. Give them a little plug. And we've got a really strong group of players and board members that are good with our sponsorship. So our main sponsors for 22 are McGurk's Bar. We have our Reflex Functional Fitness that we do pre-season classes with as well. And they're our two main sponsors. And we have some really, really strong people on the board that have been promoting that. And so we haven't found a lot of trouble with that, with the sponsors. And I certainly can't talk to all of them. And that certainly was my role last year. But that bar supports us very well. And we hold some functions there in our Australia Day one as well. And our post-game functions are really big as well, like they would be back home. I think our game against DC in last year, we probably would have had anywhere between 50 to 100 people at the pub after the game, which is fantastic. And that's a testament to us, and also how many people the DC brings as well. So it can be pretty chaotic over there. The bar will go from pretty quiet on Saturday Arvo to 100 people, and 40 of them are Australians, which is enough to do damage. So that's good for them, good for us, but we love them, and we're generally there a few days a week anyway. So we both do pretty well out of the relationship.
Yeah, nice. So do you have many official social events besides to get your sort of post-game stuff? Do you have any like a big presentation night or anything like that?
Yeah, and so we went a bit differently this year, but our biggest sort of driver early in the year is our Australia Day party, which we do at our sponsor bar, which start of 2019 was really successful. I think we had 150 or so people at that one. And then obviously in the last couple of years, it's been hard to generate bigger events at indoor bars. So we're looking to try and do that a little bit later than Australia Day this year, and maybe in March or April, and see what we can do depending on what the guidelines say. But yeah, we'll do those functions. We had a vote count function this year as well. We tally the votes and just with the club, and then we have a separate presentation night as well. And then and the social calendar is always a little variable depending on the year and where the home and away games are. So we will generally visit the opposing team's bars as well, and then our functions, we might have 2 or 3 depending on their style will change each year.
So you said Australia Day is a big one. What do you do? Like get a recording of the Triple J's Hottest 100 to play for it, or what? Like,
yeah, well, I don't think that would go too well over here if we tried to play a lot of those songs that come in the Hottest 100 if it was live. It certainly wouldn't go that well. But I was one. I think when I first came over, I thought we might do it that way. But it's sort of just an Australian themed party over here, so everyone dressed up in what they can. We might get a few cultures or songs in here or there, but maybe they get flicked off pretty quickly. But it's mainly to drive the interest to our club and our sport, and drive our social membership, and just I guess have a good time with. And it always brings out a lot of Aussies from the Middle Atlantic region. You wonder why that you think you know all the Aussies in a certain region, and then they pop up and they hear, I came over for Australia Day, and I live in Northern Virginia. You're like, oh, good to see you. So as you guys know, we're everywhere, and it's always good to see Aussies over here when we have a function like that.
I want to backtrack the presentation night. So every club have their standard awards, your best and fairest, your runner-up. Some clubs I've spoken to have got some obscure awards. Do you guys have one that's quite unique to your club?
This year we did sort of the standard 4 or 5 awards. We did have in the previous year one of our guys on the board would run and do the emceeing, and he did a lot of different awards. Like he did things like they started out with the best kick and the best mark, things like that. Then they really ventured somewhere else, and I don't have them off the top of my head, so it's not going to be a great response. But it was probably about 8 or 9 awards past what would have been funny. So it was about 20 awards that went for a long time. So I'll have to get a few of those back to you, but I can't right now. Sorry, boys.
Nah, no stress. So obviously you've you played footy in Victoria. As you would know, fines is a big thing when it comes to footy clubs down here. Do you guys have fines up there? And if so, what are some of your non-negotiables that you guys have? For example, we've got our non-negotiables, running late, rocking up without your club polo, redheads, shower. Obviously now with the unisex toilets, if you shower with the door shut, that's a fine. Skins without shorts. A falcon is a non-negotiable fine. Do you guys have any like that?
We do. We're good with our fines, and I'm glad you brought up skins without shorts, because I tried to sort of enact that at my club when I played at Monash, but then there would have been $70 on a given night, so I sort of lost that one. So I was the weird one for just wearing shorts. So anyway, but yeah, we did our fines at the Nationals, and we tally them up throughout the year, and that same guy would read them out. So it's generally the bloke forgot his boots, bloke got stung by a bee before the bounce, bloke got stung by a bee 2 weeks later. Bloke forgot where the game was, asked where the game was late to that game when he was like the president, rocked up in the first quarter, kicked the wrong way, ran the wrong way, missed it from the goal square. A lot of things like kicked it into the man on the mark, kicked into the man on the mark's head, got hit in your own head. I'd have to find that list, but they're normally, I think we put a lot more effort into the actual fines than we did with a lot of the serious awards, which was pretty good.
This year for our fines, we used to just have bloke get up, read them out on a weekly basis. This year, me and the new head of Fine Master decided to go a different route and actually do photoshops on a Thursday night. So it escalated. It made the fines a lot better. But we this year did top 5 fines at presentation night. And the winner of our best fine for the year. So we've got a footy Snapchat group. A bloke posted in, was it a screenshot of his phone's background, and everyone's sitting there going, "What? Why are you sending a picture of your missus on your background?" He dropped his phone and thought that doing a screenshot would show the crack on the screen.
So yeah, he thought, oh yeah, I'll show them. I've just cracked my screen, but all he did was show us his background. So yeah, that was fine of the year for us. And he still couldn't work out why I didn't screenshot.
What did it set him back?
Well, probably sent him back $10, I think, on the night. Plus, I think he copped, would have been a gold coin during the season. But this is a bloke that consistently racked up fines. So I reckon by the end of the year, probably $40, I reckon, probably the tin by the end of the year.
Yeah, we have some serial offenders that pretty much cop a fine every week. Do you have guys like that are just week in, week out?
Yeah, we do. Ryan Brubaker, I hope he listens to this as well. I think he copped $51 or something in nationals because it's, I guess, once you start getting fined a bit, you become that bloke that just gets fined. But yeah, he's notorious for doing things that are very fine worthy. Just like I said, like forgetting his boots is normally a pretty common one, or just someone will say the game's at this time at this place, and then he'll say next message in the chat, when's the game? So he gets $2 a lot pretty much every Tuesday or Wednesday. So yeah, look, he was vehemently, we do the fines where you can cop it, or you can sort of attest to your own worth to the crowd, and they can decide whether your fine's there. But if you get rejected there, I think the fine gets doubled. So he always stands back up and he always gets doubled. So that's on him.
Nah, we're a dictatorship in our fine system. And we say you need a fine, you get one.
Sounds a bit like Jorge, this guy.
I was about to say, we had a bloke that 2 years ago, so we just have a standard money tin that you get down here. He was racking up fines early January. So the bloke still doing the fines at the time decided he needed his own tin. He ended up actually making more money in his tin than the rest of the footy club did in theirs.
What do you get to borrow any his money for the footy trip?
Yeah, it all goes on the bar footy trip.
Yeah.
So. Speaking of footy trip, do you guys do a footy trip at all?
We don't do a footy trip per se because of the way our away games and nationals go. And I was a little something I learned when I came over here. Your away games, a lot of the time you'll do 2 flights a year plus nationals. So they sort of become your footy trips, and we will play away games. And it's pretty cool where sort of like our end of year footy trip back home will be like to Perth or Adelaide or the Gold Coast, or to the Gold Coast and then maybe back to the Gold Coast. So over here we all play in Nashville, which is pretty cool. We can play games in Florida, in Texas, California, sort of New York, Boston, sort of in the Northeast too. So we'll end up trying to do 2 big social trips and nationals in a given year. And nationals is normally, I guess, the biggest comparator to a footy trip. It sort of you play a fair bit of footy though, so it's not quite like footy trips back home.
Yeah, lovely. So you mentioned earlier that you're the coach of the Dockers. What got you into wanting to do that role? And do you find it hard to teach blokes who have never picked up a footy before how to play the game?
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be something that I didn't think that it would be that difficult, but it certainly was. I thought that I would, there was a big shift too. In 2019, we had this team that made the Div 2 grand final. We had quite a lot of experienced guys. We sort of lost a lot of that, and then our numbers remained the same. We had a lot of newer guys, so I certainly had to shift a lot, because instead of where I thought I'd be teaching some sort of structure and when to switch and where to sort of read the play as a defender and where to stand, you sort of go back to, this is how you handball, this is how you kick, this is how you mark effectively, and this is sort of how you play on. So, and I came into the role sort of because I looked around and I knew I'd be the most kind of senior guy with the amount of time at the right time. So, and it was something I wanted to take on for the club and personal reasons as well. And it's we have a lot of help with all of our players too. We have a lot of American guys do the best coaching for the new American guys, because it's sort of hard for me, and it's weird to picture it, that the American guys are much better explaining the game than I am, because I would have thought that I would know, all right, this is how you explain it. And they go, is it like rugby? And I go, no. Is it like soccer? I'm like, no. So I'll say to them, you seen Gaelic footy? And they go, no. I'm like, all right, well then I got nothing to say. But the American guys are really good. They understand that if they've got any kind of lacrosse background, that's actually quite similar in the way you move your body and you check with the hips and you read the play, and same with soccer in the way you structure around the ground. And a lot of Americans are so rooted to say their version of football where you play a position and that's where you stay and that's what you do. And this is your zone and that's your player and that's it. So it was hard to teach them that it is continuous. You have a position, but essentially in the pros, pretty much everyone plays as a version of a midfielder all over the ground. So I certainly had some challenges trying to learn how to coach my first year of coaching. I feel like I got there in the end, but it was certainly more challenging than I thought.
Yeah, I think when you've grown up playing it, it sort of just becomes innate in you that you just sort of know how to do it. You know how to kick a ball. You know where to run and do all that stuff. So it does become hard to sort of break it down to, especially, teaching old dogs new tricks. It's probably easier sometimes to teach a kid who's never picked up a footy to kick a ball than somebody that's, played soccer or lacrosse or, American football, and they're then having to learn that skill from scratch and sort of get rid of some bad habits they might have from a different sport.
Yeah, I mean, and on that, we got one of the guys is a teacher, and he runs like an Ozball footy clinic at his primary school, and I went out and helped him one time a few years ago. And it is funny looking at these kids playing, and they would probably be only like, I think grade 3 through 6, and the skills that they would have would be equivalent to kids back home. And I was sort of blown away because they'd just like, it's an odd shaped ball to them, but like, all right, I'm a kid, I'll play anything, I'll pick it up, and now like they're quite strong. So as far as development of the game, and obviously few other issues aside, but if it was to if there was interest and the right amount of revenue and interest generation over here, I have no question that the American players would be exceptional players.
Yeah, I've said it multiple times when we've spoken to American clubs that if you got some guys that were, high school standout wide receivers or something like that didn't quite go to college, they'd make for a bloody good full forward or centre half forward with some of the athletic talents running around in those positions. Get a big tight end up at full forward. You'd be good luck trying to outmark one of those blokes when they, high point the ball.
I wouldn't. I'd be sending someone else to him. I wouldn't be playing on him.
Well, what position do you play?
So it's pretty funny. My mates back home give me a bit of heat for this, but I played early days on the wing, like the skinny little coward I was, and then I went to the halfback flank for about 5 or 6 years, and that was probably my position where I enjoyed the most. And then over here, I played as a full forward, which was pretty funny, for a little while. And just sort of as the coach, I sort of put myself there because we had some strong defenders. So I thought if you can jump up and take a mark, why not have a shot on goal? So played there for a while, and then we lost some players. So then I moved myself into the midfield, which is pretty funny because I never really played midfield. And anytime I played back home in the Ammos, my man was always just running out of centre with it. So I hated the midfield, but then I started playing it over here. So I picked up a bit of that. But honestly, the answer is wherever I needed to be put. I mean, as a coach, you sort of just try and see yourself as a utility and play wherever you can. And you'll often see some really strong weapons when you're playing other teams and you know about them. You know the clubs, you know where they play. So there's a club that's got a really strong ruckman, and a really strong ruckman over here is a big difference maker. So I'll try and sort of follow that person around, or at nationals, I know who the strong one in the midfield is, or when we played Boston, I knew there was an ex-AFL guy floating around. So it's just really wherever you need to go.
I guess being a coach and being a full forward. So I'm a full forward, so I understand the position. Being a coach, in that position, you at least have got a good view of everything that's going around ahead of you. So unlike in a midfield where you sort of got to focus on your game the whole game and then try and focus on other people's games, at least at full forward, you can see what your halfbacks are doing and you can focus solely on that until the ball comes to you. Did that help you as a coach playing full forward?
Yeah, it did. Look, it's the first game we had a really good plan, and I put myself full forward. I thought it was going to have a good game. We got smacked by about 7 or 8 goals, so that didn't work out, and I went straight back to the drawing board. But yeah, you're right. You see a lot more of it. You're not doing anywhere near as much running as a midfield. Like when I played in the midfield at nationals, you sort of, it's really, and for any captain coaches out there that might listen, or if you guys did captain coaching, it is very hard to try and be a coach when you're playing in the midfield and running around as well. It's hard enough trying to get a kick and not getting hit, and then focusing where everyone else is. So as a full forward, yeah, I could see a lot more of the game and sort of take some notes and some mental notes about what we need to do. But I always had help on the sidelines. You need it. You need somebody moving the magnets, running the rotations. It's just too hard to do it all yourself out there. So, and I say that I had some control on the full forward, but look, you still really focus on trying to get a kick, do what's best for your team. So, and it's about 35 degrees over here when we're playing in Baltimore in the summer. So that's something different too. We're really not used to that in Melbourne.
Yeah, well, definitely not at the moment. We're not used to it. We have one hot day and then 3 days of rain. So, but being that you are from Melbourne, what team did you follow, or do you follow in the AFL?
Up until, when was it, 2013, I was a Bombers fan. And then from 2013 onwards, I was just a footy fan, obviously because of all the saga. So Bombers fan, mum, one of 7 kids, all Bombers. Mum didn't follow footy and dad was a Bomber, so we're all Bombers. So I try and follow it where I can, but yeah, we've sort of been middle of the pack for about, that's part of 10 years now.
I fucking knew I like this bloke, mate.
Mate, if I could move the camera, I could show him the Bombers merch all over the.
Oh, it's a Bombers
wall.
merch behind us. Can you see it? Oh, yeah, it's a picture of Windy Hill. But yeah,
okay.
The
2000 Premiers jersey over there, an old centenary one.
Signed by Sheedy and Hurd. Matthew Lloyd one signed. Yeah, no, I've got a fair bit of Essendon stuff in here.
Nice.
Unfortunately.
Did Paul Barnard sign it? He kicked 4 in that, Granny?
Nah, it's unsigned, that Premier's one. But yeah, no, that's probably one of his best games of his life. Him and Lloydie kicking 4 apiece. If you had money on the top goal scorer that day, geez, Barnard would have been paying a fortune, I reckon.
Never, ever would anybody have gotten that. If they put money on it, they're an idiot.
What are you looking at, mate?
Oh, he started on the bench too.
Yeah, sounds about right. No, he's a half backer, so for him to kick 4 was quite surprising.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, I mean, we had an embarrassment of riches back then, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah, you look at the team and see him so you look at the team and see him on the bench, and then you roll through the starting 8-10 and go, yeah, no, you probably wouldn't be knocking anybody from that team.
Yeah, it's funny. It's come full circle now with the D's bringing it home, and that's something I thought I wouldn't see for a long, long time. And good on them. I know being in around Melbourne, you know a lot of really struggling D's fans, so that was good to see. And that would have been cool to be in Melbourne when that was. I mean, a bit of a shame there how it went down and where the game was played, but it would have been cool to be around Melbourne when that happened.
Nah, not really.
Would have ended up like a Richmond, just a little bit fancier, and cheese boards being thrown. And
it was. You do feel sorry for them though, that like the first time they've actually won a granny in for fucking forever, and it's played in Perth, so none of them could go to it unless you jump the border and spend a month in jail after the game.
Yeah, there's a bit of demon irony about that somehow. It's a bit of a shame.
Yeah. What about your favourite player? Like, not just football, but who's a we'll go with your favourite player for Essendon, and then sort of who sporting icon that you look up to.
Yeah, this one's pretty tricky. Hurdy was my favourite player when I was a kid, as was pretty much every other kid following the Bombers. But when I grew up, I think that Simon Black was one of my favourite players that I've ever sort of watched play footy. He made it look pretty effortless. And Sam Mitchell for a few years later, I guess just those guys in the midfield, they would generally always play good games, but I didn't know how they would do. And they were both in 3-peat teams, and I think those two guys were big reasons why those teams went a long way they did. And outside of footy, I guess I was pretty cricket mad when I was a kid. So I was a big Damien Martin fan. I don't know why Damien Martin, but he was my man when I was a kid. I just liked the way that he was pretty poised and an offside player. Didn't say a whole lot to the media. So him and Gilchrist were probably my heroes. And Brett Lee, because he was a bowler, and one time he took some bloke from South Africa for 32 off and over, I think. That was pretty cool. And then over here, I follow the NBA. I follow the football, obviously, like everyone does over here in Baltimore. So we're Ravens mad, but follow the NBA a bit as well. And I like to keep an eye on the Aussie blokes over here. And it's good to see Paddy Mills having the season he is with Brooklyn. He's playing really well. So I love seeing that. And I've been watching Giddy a fair bit, and the way he's playing for the OKC. Obviously, their team stinks, but he's playing some really good stuff. So, I wouldn't say I really have any sort of heroes right now, but I like to keep an eye on what the Aussies are doing and where.
So who you got winning the Super Bowl this year? Because we're very big NFL fans ourselves. So we've actually got a Madden tournament at the footy club. So we've got about 12 blokes that get together and play for a trophy about that big. So
Plus fantasy football.
Plus fantasy, yeah. So we're quite big.
Yeah.
So well, first question, actually, who you got winning the Super Bowl? And then second, do you guys get involved in the fantasy side of things?
So yeah, I mean, football's mad over here, and it's pretty interesting how big it's become back home too, and it's getting bigger and bigger. Went up before I came over, and it's huge now. And I think that the Buccaneers will win it again, just because it's sort of they're getting a lot of players back from injury. They're very strong at receiver. The old fella seems to be getting better with age. I just don't really know if I trust many of the other teams to get through, except for maybe the Chiefs. I think it'll be them and the Chiefs again. I think they're the most reliable team in the AFC. But pretty much every pick I've made this year has been wrong. So don't put any money on that. You guys can. Yeah, you guys can give me your picks. You're not going to pick Green Bay, are you? Because they do the same thing every year.
Well, I'm a Cowboys fan, so.
I'm a Pats fan, so I don't think we're going to win it, but it'd be nice. But Green Bay is probably the last team that we want to win.
Yep.
We've got a couple of blokes in our group chats that are mad Packers fans, and actually, I'm trying to work out if our mate is a mad Aaron Rodgers fan or just hates Tom Brady that much.
It's both.
Yeah, we've got Packers fans that just no matter what Rodgers does, he could throw 10 picks a game and it would still be he meant to. He was hitting them on purpose, and they're just insufferable.
Receiver's fault or whatever.
Yeah, it's shocking. It's shocking about that. But I mean, it was the same with Tom, and then he went somewhere else and he won. So everyone just had to be a little bit quieter.
Yeah, that's that was a shame too. But you are in Baltimore, and Lamar Jackson's probably the biggest star in Baltimore. But before him, it was Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis was the man over there. Does anyone hit the old Ray Lewis celebration? After they kick a goal or something like.
There's one guy that doesn't do the Ray Lewis, but he's actually a Chicago and a 49ers fan, but he's been telling me he's going to do the Heisman celebration when he kicks a goal, but he's been playing back pocket for as long as I've known him. So, Mike, when you kick a goal, you can do that celebration, but I'm still waiting on that goal.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that one, but yeah, the Ray Lewis dance would be pretty good after a goal.
Yeah, it's sort of, I've never been one for a big celebration. Every time I would say something on the mark, the bloke would kick 10 or I'd get knocked over. So I try to pass that on, but that's just the way it goes.
All right. Well, yeah, we're almost done. We've got a couple more questions. We like to get you to throw some team ups on.
Hold on, mate. We've got a bit of music before this segment now. He didn't know I added that one into it, so.
I could see. He looked a little bit surprised about that one.
Yeah, well, as you can see, we've got some new toys here in front of us, and this is our first time really getting to use it. So
our first time using it with guests from over on Zoom, so we're definitely making the most of it.
Love it.
All right, so who's the biggest class clown at the club?
Yeah, so I mentioned him earlier. I'll go with Mike Horney, and that's not a nickname. That's his actual last name. He is a very clever guy, but yeah, very funny. I think he's running our Instagram this year, so he puts up some good content of him. He's always in a beef with the USAFL message boards. They're always posting really demonstrative stuff about our club just before games. So I don't know whether it's coincidence or it always seems to get us going. So he's pretty good with that. He says he's the only one running the message board. So definitely him. He does some good stuff. He does the emceeing for our events. So I'll put him as that.
Yeah, nice. So he's Horny. It's already his last name, but what's the best nickname at the club?
I'll probably just go with Mad Dog. I think that's our best one there. The Mad Dog's a pretty old-fashioned Aussie nickname. We don't have too many like we do back home, but I think that's what the best one will have.
Yeah, you got to have a Mad Dog at every club.
Yeah, it's required.
Does he cop a little bit of Mad Doggy Matt?
Yeah, I like the effect, but he certainly does. He certainly does. We interchange those words from time to time.
All right, so obviously as a coach, you've got to take it seriously. So besides yourself, who's the one bloke at the club or woman at the club that just takes the game far too seriously, whether it's on the training track or just wherever?
Jesse, yeah, I had this one in the gun, ready to go. Yeah, either me or Jesse. I mean, his commitment is unbelievable, but again, his commitment is unbelievable. He'll be running, he'll run miles before training, and then he'll put in more effort than anybody else at training, and then he'll somehow still be somehow a little upset with his effort at training. Same with games. So obviously, I love the effort he gives, but it is by far and away Jesse. And if you asked him, he would give you the same answer.
Yeah, nice. So how about the when you get to your functions, like your presentation night or your after game functions, who's the party animal? Who just really lets it go?
It's going to be three guys here, and it was sort of hard to give it to one. So Brew, the guy that took away $51 in fines and might have even been more at Nationals, I think he's at our sponsor bar. Forgive me if I get this wrong, Brew, 6 nights a week. I don't know how he does it, but he's always there sitting at the bar. Ski as well on the other end of the spectrum. He's a bit of an older guy, but he's one of those guys that he'll post in our club chat. One day he'll be at a bar, then he'll be at a beach, then he'll be at a farm, then he'll be driving a blue MG. So he's just one of those guys, a yes man. You don't quite know which way his life's going to take you, but it's always a ride. And then one guy's new this year. He actually took away our best clubman, Austin Lane. The guy just loves to do everything club related socially. He's moving away next year, so he's playing for a club in Europe. But he lived in Annapolis, but he always had some sort of obscure social thing to do, whether it be some sort of halftime hockey thing or some sort of obscure beer drinking thing to do. But yeah, 3 guys there. There's probably 4 or 5 I could have named like any given club, but definitely those guys.
He'll fit in right over in Europe there because one of their post-game things they do is the boat race, which is a relay of sculling beers. So he'll fit right in with those blokes over in Europe then.
Yeah, we actually do that here too. We're pretty good at the boat race, even when we don't win.
Yeah, nice. We still haven't got it going in our club yet. We were going to get one going, but we haven't done it yet. So who's the one bloke you wouldn't want to have to share a room with on a trip to an away game or the Nationals?
Probably Val. Sorry if he's listening to this. He's one of the Aussie guys, a good mate of mine, really good footballer, but really unpredictable, forgetful. He's got the keys. You won't get one. He'll lose them. He'll lose his wallet. He'll get kicked out. He'll go for a walk. So you don't quite know what you're going to get from him. So unpredictability is not really what I want in a roommate. I don't know anything, whether he snores or anything like that. But I think he's just for the chaos factor, I'd go with him.
Yeah, that's fair. And that sounds a lot like a bloke at our club. He multiple times left his wallet in an Uber and had to get it Ubered back home. But yeah, thanks again for joining us, mate. Give your social media a shout out. And by the sounds of it, it's one worth checking out. So what are the social media handles?
Yeah, so the main one where we focus a lot is our Instagram. We do a lot of our posting and recruiting these days, and that's all one word, lowercase, Be More Dockers, BMORE Dockers on Instagram. And then our website is baltimoredockers.com. So yeah, like you said, Johnny puts up some good stuff. We post a lot of our schedules and our plans and our functions on that. So check us out. It is bloody cold over in Baltimore right now, so we're not going to be getting out for a kick anytime soon. But when we do, hopefully it gets to maybe sort of 5 or 6 degrees Celsius, then we'll go for a kick. But until then, we won't. But that's when we're going to post it. We'll post it on our Instagram.
Mate, would you be getting out for a kick if it was only 5 degrees?
Absolutely not.
So what is the temperature over there at the moment?
Yeah, today is pretty cold. It's supposed to snow on the weekend. So I think it was like the high was maybe a bit warm. Sorry, I was a bit warmer today, maybe 5 or 6 degrees, but it's been the highs of sort of -1, -2 all week, lows of sort of -7, -8. So it's pretty chilly. We're not even that cold. I mean, we got friends that live in New York and Minnesota, and it's anywhere in the Northeast. So yeah, it's too cold.
I reckon I might just stop my complaining about how muggy it is at the moment down here.
Yeah, I reckon the shower for 5 minutes we got is enough to complain about. So
I don't like the humidity either, so I'm with you on that.
Well, thanks again for joining us, mate. We appreciate you taking the time. all the best for the season ahead and with everything over there, and hopefully you get to a nationals and take it out again.
Yeah, guys, I appreciate it. Thanks for the time and the questions and for the promotion of the club. If you're ever over at one of the nationals, come find the Dockers boys. We'll have a jersey for you, and I'm sure that you'll spend a fair bit of the night with us.
Mate, it's by the time we get over there, we might not be fit enough to be able to play, but we'll give it a crack.
I'll get the jersey and drink the beer though. Don't you worry about that.
Yeah, as long as you just run from one side of the field to the other and then say you're on it, that's all that really matters.
Big call, that one. Jeez, getting me to run from one end of the field to the other. Jeez.
All right, thanks again. Enjoy the rest of your night.
No worries, guys. Thank you.